Good afternoon, school professional studies students, staff, faculty, guests. Good afternoon to everybody on the other side of the lens there, live streaming this event. We are very excited to be here. We're very excited for you to be here with us. This is You Matter, Design Your Career Crown. This is the second part of a two-part series. My name is Greg Costanzo. I'm an Associate Director of Industry Relations here in the Career Design Lab at Columbia SPS. Some of you here in attendance may have been at our Part 1 workshop in the fall, but maybe some of you have not been. And even for those that were in attendance, you could probably benefit from a refresher. So I'm going to give that to you. We're going to do a little recap of Part 1 of the You Matter series. We're going to do it through a quiz, though. So it's going to be a little bit interactive, not heavy lifting, but we want you to work for this. So question 1, here it is, question 1. Ikigai is A, the ancient Japanese art of converging your passion with vocation, profession, and mission, or B, a word to describe a man with poor hygiene? A or B, Ikigai? Just going with A? Okay. C, there's a choice C over here. We're off to a good start. All right, let's keep it going. Question number 2, prototype is A, a stage of career design in which one applies creativity to create new possible occupations, or B, a song from the 2003 Grammy Award-winning album Speaker Box, The Love Below by the hip-hop duo Outkast? Too easy. A or B, prototype? Okay, that was a little bit more difficult one. You got to think on that. We'll come back to it. Our last question. Hopefully you can redeem yourselves, get a passing score here. When designing your life and career, there are 5 mindsets to adopt. You could also look at them as pieces of advice for being successful in your job. Which one of these 5 does not belong on the list? Is it A, be curious? B, move to action? C, reframe roadblocks? D, don't eat your coworker's lunch, but if Kevin just properly labeled his leftover piece in the fridge, we wouldn't have had this problem. And then Terry from HR, she got involved, and there was this pointless investigation. I got wrote up. Or E, collaborate radically? A, B, C, D. Which one of those does not belong on that? None of the above. Okay. Clearly, you didn't take good notes in Part 1 of the You Matter series, but there is some momentum here, and so I want to keep that going. Because I'm excited. I think you're really in for a treat today. You're going to hear from some of the leading thought experts on career development and management. How do I pave my way into a profession? What should I focus on now as a new graduate student? What are some strategies for staying motivated throughout all phases of my career? So those questions plus more will be answered today. And with that said, I'd like to introduce to you the architect of the You Matter series. He is the inaugural executive director of the Career Design Lab, Hassan Akmal. But before I bring Hassan up, I'd like to share a little bit of information about him. Hassan spearheads the Career Week, which is a 5-day premier conference on career disruption and impact, and it's one of the largest career center events in the nation. As an alumnus of Columbia University, Hassan blazed a path as a visionary career thought leader, chair of career education, and director of career services at several higher education institutions in New York, Chicago, and Los Angeles. He is a former professional tennis player and international athlete ambassador to the United States, and serves on the National Association of Colleges and Employers, or NACE, the Future of We think tank committee. With over 10 years of experience leading career and professional development, Akmal teaches individuals the importance of capturing their career and life vision, elevating personal brand in multi-layered social media, leveraging self-awareness and purpose alignment. He believes these elements are the keys to maximizing careers and gates to growing life's fulfillment. He is also the author of How to Be a Career Mastermind, Discover 7 You Matter Lenses for a Life of Purpose, Impact, and Meaningful Work. So right now I'd like to welcome Hassan Akmal to the stage. Please, let's give a nice round of applause for Hassan.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Greg. How many of you were here for part 1 of You Matter? If you don't design your life, somebody else will design it for you. So what is designing your life? Who wants to take a shot? What is designing your life? What's designing your life? What's your name? Leon, what's designing your life? When you think of designing your life or designing your career, what comes to mind? So having a roadmap, right, to get from sort of A to B. So you heard a little bit about ikigai, right? So trying to find that sweet spot. Who else? What is designing your life? Is it difficult? Is it difficult to find that roadmap? How many find that roadmap to be difficult? Especially when you go against time, the token of time, right? When I look at sort of the hourglass, I think of my career and life vision competing against each other. We're going to talk about that a little bit more. You know, you have your personal life, and then you have your career, you have family, you have friends. Just how do you balance that? And at the same time, how do you major in careers when there's no major in careers? There's no major in careers. There's nobody there to really mentor you on how to really align your career or careers. The next generation is going to have maybe 17 different careers in a lifetime. In fact, some of those students and some of our own graduates will have 3 or 4 careers at the same time. So how do you design your career crown? How do you design your career crown, Tia? If you design your career, what comes to mind?
How you design your career crown when you're at where you're looking to go, and your certain tools that you need and resources that you need to be successful. So it's you need to collectively use those that are around you and the information that's at your fingertips to hopefully.
Well said, right? So really, collectively looking at all your resources and finding things that are tangible. And she said something very important, finding your path, finding your way. How many of you in the audience really feel like you found your way? You have it all figured out? Yeah? A couple people? Right? So maybe they're the trailblazers, right? They're the pioneers that we should be following. But yeah, most of us struggle with finding that path, right? Because reality hits you. I was on the road to being a professional tennis player. In fact, I was a professional tennis player. Did my practicum in Afghanistan one day and had a whole circuit aligned in Europe. Before I knew it, I had the muzzle of a machine gun on my back. That was the career unlock for me. That was a change in my perspective, and it changed my life. Changed my entire perspective, where I thought my life was heading in one way, and the next moment I could maybe not have been there. Maybe that was the last day of my life. So reality hits you, right? We can plan things, chaos and happenstance. There's things that happen in your life that impact, that change things. And it's almost, it's sometimes very difficult to accept. We heard yesterday on an alumni panel, somebody who was a professional athlete and at some point had to make the decision to work at tennissource.net, right? And so being able to go from a professional athlete when you're using that tenacity to sitting in front of a computer and working those long hours, that was something very difficult, not only for other athletes, but even for myself. When I first took a 9-to-5 job, I saw my friends at the US Open, and I missed the training, I missed the passion, and I missed the sunny weather of California, where I'm from, right? So that's something that I loved, being able to walk out to a tennis court, the UCLA men's tennis stadium, and play tennis, and then all of a sudden it's snowing over here and I got to find indoor courts. So the whole thing was very difficult for me as far as finding my way and finding my path. It's not easy. In fall, I talked about how on my way to part one, I overheard some students who were talking about putting together IKEA furniture. And one of them was debating on how long it would take, and the other one was saying, oh, you can just download this app and we'll put it together, and instead of us putting it together, which would take, maybe 6 hours, for this big dresser, we can just hire somebody and they'll do it and it'll cost us, maybe $50 each, and it'll save us time. Time, right? Time is money in this world. And I thought about it and I made the reference that we almost spend more time putting together IKEA furniture than we do mapping out our careers. There's no major in careers. And this is one of the reasons why we started the You Matter program. Because growing up, I didn't have that. I didn't have somebody to say, Hassan, you are going to do this, this, and this, and if this happens, you do this. Or here's how to find your ikigai, right? I had watched the movie The Karate Kid, but little did I know that people that live in Okinawa were the happiest people in the world because they had something called ikigai, that intersection, which we're going to hear a little bit about more later. So I didn't have that. I went to a career center at Columbia University many years ago. I was handed a template. They gave me a computer. They said, Hassan, good luck. This is upon graduation. And that was all the guidance I had. So where did I go? Who was I? Where was I going? All those things I had to figure out myself. But somebody told me one day, you matter. I was like, what do you mean? It's like, Hassan, start with yourself. Interview yourself. We interview, not interview, but interview. Look within yourself. Look within your core values. Figure out what those are, and then align your career and life vision from there. So what do you want to be when you grow up? We all get asked this question. How many people were asked this question when they were young? What was your answer? What was your answer? What's your name? Melissa. What was your answer? Writer. Are you a writer now? Fantastic. How many of you said doctor, lawyer, engineer? I know I did, right? I had no choice, in fact. And we talked about limiting beliefs, right? So when I was growing up, I had only one choice. You had to be a doctor. Now, I did have the choice of what kind of doctor I wanted to be, but I had to be a doctor. That was the legacy that my family had to continue. And this morning, we had a podcast, and I was telling my story about how my older brother, he kind of fought that battle for me. So my older brother is this crazy video game genius, right? So he's the guy who kind of, went in Steve Jobs' sort of footsteps, where he started a company really young, right in the 7th grade, that young, and published his first video game in the 8th grade. And I was the Micronics, was the name of the company, manager. And so what the manager meant at that time was the order that we got from Japan for 2,000 video games. I was the guy packing them all up and putting them on my BMX bike and riding over to the post office with this huge bag and shipping them out. But that was my earliest experience from my older brother, who was my most difficult but perhaps my most valuable mentor in my career. That being said, he had to have that battle, that conversation with my parents. My parents were both chemists. Father was a PhD, mother was a chemist. They worked 7 days a week. We studied 2 hours every night, took every honor class, every advanced placement class you can think of. And so it really wasn't open for discussion, quote unquote. But he had that conversation that he wanted to be a gamer. And he reverse engineered from that passion from a very, very young age to the point where when he was 18 years old, he wanted to take his video game to DreamWorks. So he took his graphic designer. The company was 2 people large, right? And they drove 3.5 hours from Fresno, if anyone knows Fresno, Central California, to Los Angeles, got this meeting with DreamWorks executives, presented their video game, which was called Hoverblade. And the executives looked at him and said, nice try, kid, but it's not quite the level we're looking for. Come back in 20 years. And that was probably the only other time I've seen my brother in tears. The first time was when my father passed away when I was 11 years old. This was the second time. But we have to fail forward in life. And so he pushed on, got accepted to a bunch of UCs, didn't graduate from college, right? Had about 5 job offers his freshman year and took more than one to help support the family. He kept at it and pushed, even though he had been rejected by his sort of dream company, to the point where he landed a position as the director of external development at THQ. THQ, for those of you who don't know, is one of the 3rd largest game distributors in the world. They have The Incredibles, Scooby-Doo, right, all those video games. And later, to kind of bring it full circle, he ended up getting interviewed by who? DreamWorks. 20 years later, he was the kid that grew up, landed a contract position at DreamWorks, and didn't let anything stop him. Obviously, those executives had moved on, but landed that position, leveraged that network to launch his own company, and now he's the CEO of Spaces and runs virtual reality Terminator experiences all over the world, including Japan. So what do you want to be when you grow up? What limiting beliefs do you have that are holding you back or programming you for this answer? This was me. This was me taking my own pulse after wearing a suit and tie for a good 15 years of my life in the grind, coming home exhausted. You know, take a professional tennis player and put him in a corporate setting in front of a computer, and not an easy adjustment. So I was taking the pulse for myself and asking myself the question, is the hustle and bustle worth it? Is it worth it at the end of the day? Is it my ikigai? Is it what I really wanted to do? And I kept coming back saying that the banking, the financial industry, it's not what I was looking for. There had to be something more. How many of you have defined success in your life? Actually written down the definition of success? 1 or 2. That's it. You see, success means something different to every single person. And to me, success was giving my best, and no matter what came back, being content with that. And at that point in time, I was living someone else's life. Somebody else had designed sort of my life for me. And so I couldn't really answer that question, that I was really giving my best, applying my best in something that I wanted. I was applying my best for somebody else. And so research has it, you know, and a lot of people say follow your passion, but passion isn't exactly an organizing principle. So many people struggle with that because it's not enough to have a passion, because you can be passionate about many things, right? You can be passionate about golf, but you could be horrible at golf, like me. You can be passionate about tennis and love it, but then you can get almost kidnapped in Afghanistan, and that's the end of your career, and you can lose your pro contract, which is something that happened to me. And so what's the unlock for you, right? What is the passion that you really love? Not only that, what is the passion that you're really good at, and how do you find it? These are all the questions that we're going to dive into today. And is it enough to have a passion but not master it? Because what happens is a lot of people end up, okay, I figured out I have a lot of passions. I figured out the passions that I'm really good at, right? But maybe you're not great at. So you can't solve someone else's problem until you find your passion, master it, and then apply it to solving someone else's problem. So if you take the pulse, kind of like I did, of how many people are really emotionally connected with their job, you'll find that 87% of people are not emotionally connected to their position, meaning they don't really find meaning in it. They're unhappy. But there's 13% that are. And so we followed those 13%. We looked into that 13%. We said, why are they happy? What is it about their path, to Tia's point, that was different? Right? And we found that 13% actually crafted their job. They created it. They blazed it. They built their way to that job. So how do you take the steps to creating your personal vision? If so much of it is about vision and passion and finding your path and looking within yourself, interviewing yourself. How do you build your vision? And what does that vision really look like? Is it a career vision? Is it a life vision? Do you separate work and life? These are some things that we're going to talk about. Perception is more important than reality. How you look at the world matters. If you look at your job with a positive lens, don't you feel more positive? Have you ever worked with somebody who every word that came out of their mouth was a complaint? And you thought to yourself, wow, if I was that guy or that girl, I think I would hate my job. Or some of us find ourselves in positions and we don't have a choice. And we know it's a bridge job. What's a bridge job? Maybe it's a job that's going to get you to the next level. Maybe you're not quite ready for that senior level position, but you know that if you can make an impact in that position and you can transform the culture, that'll set you up for the next position. So it's a little bit of patience that you have to have, right? A little bit of patience. So perspective matters. So what is the key to happiness? Is it success? How many people think that the key to happiness is success? Wow, no hands up. This is the first time ever that I've asked that question and nobody, most people raise their hand and say the key to happiness is success. It's success, it's success. Because we're programmed in the society we live in that success is everything. Yet we see so many people, movie stars, people with all the money in the world, people who've climbed the corporate ladder to CEO, yet commit suicide. They hate their job, the pressure. We see people collapsing overseas in Japan. They work so hard that they die. So they have all the success in the world, yet they're unhappy. So if the key to happiness is not success, what is the key to happiness? So we found in that 13% that the key to happiness is meaning. But if the key to happiness is meaning, then what's the key to meaning? What's the key to meaning? Answers on the board, right? Purpose, right? Purpose. So how do you align purpose? We talked a little bit about how you align passion in part 1. Does anyone remember some of the 8 cylinders of success that Julian Gordon shared? There was passion, finding your passions, right? You had to have those. There was purpose, which we got covered now, right? We know that's on the list. There was problems. You got to find problems. Solutions are easy. I can Google solutions, no problem. But if you can find problems that you can solve for other people, now you have a case. Now you have a proposition. Now you have a business proposal. And then we have a couple pioneers in the room who found their way. We got to find the pioneers. The pioneers. And then what's the big picture? And then what are your principles? What are your core values? These are all things that can help you sort of map out the very difficult process of finding your passion and then working towards mastering that passion to solve someone else's problem. You are unique, nobody else is you. Right? This program is called You Matter because 10 years ago, when I launched this program, it wasn't for students, nor was it for alumni. It was for my own staff. I was in New York City, working night and day, had probably one of the most difficult bosses in my career. And I saw that change was happening. It was happening every day, it was happening every minute. Students in front of me, right? They were asking for things that they didn't ask for 5 years ago. Right? I talked to myself. I talked to myself and I said, how am I supposed to just dive in and start editing their resume when I don't even know who this person is? Who am I to start giving them advice on what that job meant via email? How am I going to edit the job duties and really extract the impact of that position, of that person in that company without having them in front of me and really talking to them? So I saw something was missing, right? I saw that whole aspect was missing. And I said, we have to do something about it. We have to change the way that we coach our students. And in order to do that, we have to invest in professional development for ourselves. And so I started the You Matter program because nobody else was going to solve the work-life balance problem. Your employer is not going to solve your work-life problem. Casual Fridays is fun and all, but it's not going to make the difference for me having time with my family or my pets or my friends. And just feeling better about myself and feeling like I have a well-lived life, right? Many of us don't realize that it's the positions, it's the organizations that we work for that are making us sick. And so I invested into a program called the You Matter, and we coached our own career staff on how to help a student with a different niche. What kind of niche? I had students coming to me saying, Hassan, I want to be an entrepreneur. And nobody at that institution wanted me to help anyone with entrepreneurship. Why? Because they said, Hassan, 9 out of 10 people are going to fail. We're not going to support entrepreneurship. Yeah, perhaps 9 out of 10 did fail. In fact, when I went to UCLA and I graduated, 9 out of 10 people failed. They did. But you know what? Those that took the consulting path, they were very successful. But those same friends of mine, who were some of the brightest minds that I've ever known in my life, kept at it, they pushed at it, they pushed at it, they pushed at it. And after 10 to 15 years of being resilient, they were as successful, in fact, some much more successful than my same friends that took that linear, traditional path. Right? They failed forward. So You Matter was really a program to invest in ourselves, to get us to the level, to be able to coach a student on how to be a venture philanthropist. Right? All these new niches that we see today, right? Those companies aren't going to come to a career fair. So what do we do? What kind of mentorship program do we align to coach that student to follow their passion? In fact, I told my staff, they've done our job for us, right? They are a venture philanthropist at heart. So we don't have to do any mapping and purpose finder and passion finder. They got it figured out. In fact, they have it more figured out than some of us in this room. Nobody has it all figured out, right? We're still figuring out what to do with the rest of our life. Ikigai, it's what gets you up in the morning. It's that intersection, what you love, what you're really good at, what the world needs, and what you're passionate about. The centenarians in Ikigai, and a centenarian, what it means is somebody that lives 100 years or longer. So they have the highest percentage of people that live to 100, up to 100 years and are quote unquote the happiest because they believe in this concept of Ikigai. And for me, it's the sweet spot, right? I think about it, what do I love doing? I love writing. I'm not that good at it, but I'm getting good at it. And I enjoy the process. I hate editing, but I love writing, right? I love being creative. If I only use the left side of my brain, I'll be burned out. But if I can use the right side of my brain, I love it. It inspires me. I love ideation, right? Something that you all have to learn about today in the 5 steps of design thinking. How do you ideate? And all of you here are really in a living laboratory, right? You are prototyping your life as we speak. I'm prototyping my life as I speak, right? And I found out, I like being a director of career services. Is it the higher education institution that I love, or is it just the fact that I like motivating people or sharing my story? And all of you have a story. We all have a story. But it's not about storytelling, right? It's about story making, story changing. For those of you, anyone here for the welcome kickoff Monday night? So I talked about what is the Career Design Lab. The Career Design Lab is a place which is a sanctuary for self-reflection. It's a place, it's a creative space with no borders where you can design your life. And just outside the doors, that's where the Times Square ball drops. We watch it, right? It drops in 60 seconds, 141 feet, along a specially designed flagpole. What happens after that? People make their red New Year's resolutions. It's 11:59 p.m. exactly. People make these New Year's resolutions and promises to loved ones. But above all, they make promises to themselves. And those resolutions are manifested in this space, which we call the Career Design Lab. So I was one of those people. I graduated from Columbia University, 2 masters, right? Top of my class in high school, top of my class in junior high. Yet I was on a path that I really didn't want at the heart. I was still searching. How many of you feel like you're still searching? Like you're on this path, but you're still kind of searching, right? So a lot of us feel that way. And so I was outside watching the Times Square ball drop, and everyone's making New Year's resolutions. And I was thinking to myself, what do I do now? It was time for me to truly design my career. The time had come. And so, being from California, I did what maybe some people would do, the whole touristy thing, went to the top of the Empire State Building. I love nice views, right? I was afraid of heights, like when you're outside in the building, like if that was a cliff, I'm afraid of heights like that. But being inside a building, I was okay. And I love nice views. I love the big picture. So I went to the top of the Empire State Building, tried to figure out these coin-operated binoculars, figured it out, looked out, wow, turned to clear my vision. And then I realized that none of us in the hustle and bustle really stop. We don't stop and we don't think because there's too much noise, right? We're so busy now that we don't even have time to watch a video. Podcasts are on the rise, right? Call me, text me. When I moved from California to New York, in California I used to call my mom every day. Poor mom, who just phone call makes her happy. When I got to New York, it was like, hey mom, I'll call you a second. Up, getting on the train. Up, and call you when I get out. Oops, just lost signal. Oh, the Wi-Fi in the station. Oops, Wi-Fi is gone. And it just became a totally different meaning. One that I didn't want, one that I didn't embrace, and one that I wasn't looking for. So each one of us has to find that go-to spot where you can look at that big picture. No matter where you go, no matter what city you live in, you have to find your place. Your place where you can kind of take a step back and look big picture and figure out what is it that you're looking for to get out of your life. And so the way I like to look at it is, it's like collimation of binoculars, but you're doing it for your vision, right? So think sort of the right side is your life vision, and the left side, right, is your career vision, but really they're one of the same, right? And so you have to first, when you look at it, does anyone have a pair of binoculars? So the first thing you have to do is you have to calibrate one side, right? So let's take our life vision, say, okay, here's my life bucket list. Okay, I'm gonna, teach English in Peru, learn a new language, get married, have kids, be a great husband, be a great father, and go bungee jumping. Whatever that list is, right? And then career bucket list, what's that? A career bucket list, right? What's a career bucket list? If you're gonna have 10, 15 different careers, how do you map that out? How do you prioritize those careers? What order does that happen? Right, so you think about that, your career. Think of it as your 9-to-5 grind. What's that look like? So you calibrate one of them, adjust it, figure out, focus it, and then after you calibrate one side of your binoculars, you calibrate the other side. And then what do? You take a step back, and then the instructions say, turn to clear vision. And then you look at the binoculars with both eyes, and they are one. So the first step is really to understand how do you combine your career and life vision so they're not competing with each other. And so you have to practice. So I have a little hourglass on my desk, and every time I look at it, I see that, it's not to time my student meetings, not at all, because each one of those is tailored to really the needs, right? But I looked at it and I was like, that's my career and life vision, right? It's like competing. It's like my life is it's draining me, and then I turn it over, and it's always just, where do I find time for myself? And I struggle with it. And one day I just turned it over to the side, and it just evened out. And I said, that's infinity right there. It formed like an 8 sign. I said, that's when it's timeless. That's the balance that I need to find in my career and life vision. So how do you do that, right? So if you calibrate each one, figure out what is the balance for you. What job, career, or careers with an S is going to give you that balance where you find that peace, where you find that meaning after that self-reflection. Career and life vision is a panoramic view, right? Remember, you have to go to somewhere really high. It doesn't have to be on top of a building. It doesn't have to be the Empire State Building. It doesn't have to be the John Hancock Building, right? Somewhere where you can just kind of look down and have a pause moment, a reset moment for yourself. And you have to think about everything sort of in a panoramic view, which is why I like sort of the binoculars sort of analogy, because a lot of opportunities lie in your peripheral vision. When you have these limiting beliefs, it's like tunnel vision, right? You just think, okay, I'm going to be a data scientist, and that's it, right? You don't think about anything else, and it's about the money, or it's about being a doctor because of the status, when maybe that's not what's going to make you happy. I couldn't see myself being happy in a hospital. I loved global health, so I went to global health. So what is that for you? Think of yourself as a life archer. Your own life archer. What do archers do? How many people have had an archery class or shot an arrow before? Right? It's one of my new hobbies. And little did I know when I was doing it and I was aiming, I was squinting my eye. And then I had the coach come to me, Hassan, did you know that 90% of the world's best archers use both eyes? And I was like, really? He's like, no, Hassan, 100% do. He was testing me because they use their peripheral vision. They measure the environment, the wind, right? And the first thing that they do is they look at their target, right? They look at their ikigai. So if you did this exercise in part A, you map that out. And we all should be drawing arrows from that A to B towards the center, that sweet spot, that target, right? That target. And so when we find that target, then we aim. And all the instrument is up to you, right? The bow and arrow, how far you pull it back, the preciseness, the accuracy, your posture, your vision being a big part of it, right? And you aim and you shoot. And then what do? They grab the binoculars to see where it lands, right? Fundamentally, the marksman aims at himself. So you're really looking within yourself as a life archer. If you're living someone else's life, if somebody else's opinion is dictating the design of your life, and you probably don't even like this person, does it make sense? Does that make sense? That doesn't make sense, right? The opinions of people you don't like on social media or status are dictating the way that you design your life. Your career and life vision is like the DNA helix. How many people took a biochem or biology class and seen this before, right? We taught this as kids. And what happens when the strands are far apart? Anyone know? Major grooves. So visualize your career and life vision as this DNA strand. A career mastermind is a life mastermind. You have to master your life to master your career, if you do it right, if you're doing it for yourself. And so when the strands are closer together, they're called minor grooves. So think of that when your career and life vision is so far off, and I'm sure we've all been there, right? We've had jobs where like your job was consuming you, your wife or husband was complaining, your kids were complaining, my 2 pet Savannah cats that look like little tigers were complaining that I don't play enough, I don't have enough time for them, right? When that starts happening, right, you know that those strands are far apart and they're creating major grooves, not only in your vision, but in your well-being. So find the intersection of those and keep them tight, keep them one. And even though if you know these strands, they actually run in opposite directions, but they're parallel, like your career and life vision. How many of you knew that Steve Jobs loved calligraphy? Right? And so that was one of his passions, like Mohammad Bazdek. So he was incredibly talented as a calligraphy. He's from Istanbul. And if you see his designs, unbelievable. And that's what helped him make ends meet, right? Is calligraphy. But what his passion really was this instrument right here, the kanun. And so he had that struggle. So he's like, well, what I really love doing is playing this instrument. And I'm not that good at it, but I'm going to start taking classes and I'm going to master my passion, right? So that I can maybe apply it to my life and maybe I can play some concerts and maybe solve some problems that some venues have or make some people happy, right? And so he took that and he rode with it. As an example of one of his poetry. So career and life vision is much like music. How many of you have Andre Bocelli? He describes it too as like building your life is almost like you know one brick and putting those all brick to build the sort of the house of your life, right? So if you hear Andre Bocelli's life, what was different about Andre Bocelli? He was blind. Exactly, he was blind, and that sort of enhanced his ability to be at the level that he is today. And so Mohammad Bazdek also, you have to let yourself feel and explore where it takes you. And so he used to do calligraphy during the day, but at night, he became a musician. And that was what he loved, right? And he kept at it. He loves both art forms. They provide different benefits and creative outlets. But calligraphy is where he really what just paid the bills, but where he really wanted to be, and I think he sums it up really well right here, is with calligraphy, it's more about technique and a repetitive practice. With music, it's about allowing your heart and emotions to follow where they lead. And so I think that's where we need to find, right? That's what we need to find, that balance, in order to really get there. You have to reach for your C sharp. How many singers out there know what a C sharp is? Yeah? What's your C sharp? It's that real high note that not many people can hit, right? You got to find that balance, that frequency. This lesson is not about vocals, it's about vision, right? It's about career vision, it's about purpose, it's about life vision. It's about not just being a storyteller, a story maker, and a story changer. Mindset at the core of everything. Moral compass, your career and life bucket list, and last but not least, legacy. This is your C sharp, SEE dash sharp, right? Not your C sharp, but your C sharp. Remember, it's all about vision. Make your commitment to change, right? Make your commitment to change today. What are you going to change about yourself or about your vision? Are you going to find that go-to spot, right? How are you going to change? How are you going to build forward momentum, right? What's forward momentum? Forward momentum is strategic foresight and proactive planning combined with positive results and energy, right? That mindset, that positive mindset. And so I'm going to share with you 7 what I call you matter lenses, right? And these are ways that are going to help you figure all of this out, right? The first one is positive mindset. Almost everything is perspective. Almost everything is perspective, right? So changing your perspective first. And we saw some examples on how to do that, right? Your career and life vision being one. A couple metaphors. So whatever works for you to really figure that out, right? Not an easy thing to do. But you got to take a step back. You got to find that pause moment. What's your unlock? What's your unlock for your career and life vision? For me, it was almost losing my life. For me, it was when my dad passed away out of the blue. And I saw him smiling, the stroke happening in front of me. He couldn't talk. Then he couldn't see. But if you heard our voices, he would squeeze our hands. That was the career and life unlock for me. Things changed. What mattered now, and it mattered differently. What are you going to do differently? What are you going to do? How are you going to think differently? And what's going to be the unlock for you, right? Is it the little street child that you meet traveling on your vacation who is just struggling to survive, and you realize, God, I got to be more grateful. What's the unlock for you? Discovery calls, the purpose in you. So finding the purpose, but finding the purpose within yourself, right? That whole discovery process, being an explorer in this whole entire process. Career manifesto, be an architect, build a life you love. We shared some examples, crafting your life, right? Crafting your vision. Why you should invest in yourself. You matter. This is what this program is about. Your own personal business plans. We all have business plans, but how many of us have a personal business plan? And just like with any business plan, you test it. It doesn't always work in the beginning the way you thought it was going to work, but you make adjustments and you keep doing that until it works. So having a personal business plan. A noble and career moral compass. Ethics matters, right? Your core values matter. That should be a part of this entire process on top of these 7 lenses. Make your commitment to change. This is not your scarlet letter, right? Are you building a legacy that's going to last forever, right? Is this going to be something you're going to, is there a message? Is there something that you want your kids to know about you? Or how, for example, one of my mentors used to say, how do you want to be remembered, right? Or Julian talked about the retirement speech. What's your retirement speech going to be about? What's your graduation speech going to be about? Your alliance, your personal board of directors. Who are the people in your mentor circles that are going to influence you, that are going to be the examples for you, that are going to help mentor you? Who are the mastermind groups? How are you going to champion your career through those? So this is just a summary of those lenses, but I encourage you all to study them and ask yourself the questions on do you have these lenses? And once you have them, each lens really builds on the next lens to really get to that point where you have that solid vision. This is a journey of self-evaluation. It's a journey of self-evaluation, your evaluation, nobody else's. Regardless of whether you master 1, 2, or 7 of the You Matter lenses, each one will sharpen the next one, cascading with each layer until you have a value stack for you to be able to see clear and find that focus. Be your own career mastermind. Master your own career. Master your own mindset, right? That's how you're going to master your future. I'll leave you with just a couple last thoughts. Perspective matters, right? Perspective matters. These children here are taking their own selfie, and they've changed their mindset. And as a result of changing their mindset, they have changed their world. So I challenge all of you to adopt and embrace the You Matter lenses, to challenge yourself to design your career, and to ask yourself the question, who are you living your life for? Exam time. What do you want to be when you grow up? Is it doctor? Is it lawyer? Did you guys see the answer today? I kind of flashed the answer, right? All right, I'll save you the trouble. This was for a kindergarten class where kids wrote what they wanted to be when they grew up. Most answered doctor, fireman, baseball player. Jackson, on the other hand, says he wants to be everything. He said this all on his own. His teacher, a 25-year kindergarten teacher, she's been teaching for 25 years, was blown away, and she never heard that response before. I think this sums it all up, right? You can be everything and you can be anything. And that's the next generation. And that's why the word career, no longer has that historical meaning anymore. It's outdated. We are here to redefine that meaning, not just collectively, but for yourself. Your career of the future, careers. Maybe you're going to have 5 careers at the same time. What are those? You're going to be an author, you're going to be a social media influencer, and you're going to be a data scientist. You can be all of the above. Jennifer Shin, who's sitting at that table right there, has like 5 titles. World-renowned data scientist, author, influencer, and she works at NBC Universal. And she's what I like to say, quote unquote, a baller, right? Write your story. A traveler I am and a navigator, and every day I discover a new region within my soul. Search within yourself. Be an explorer. This is my nephew Zia, who already has a following on YouTube, already has his own first video game, right? Be an explorer. I leave you with this message. Every single one of you has a purpose. It's developed from your passion. And when one is on point with that purpose, it can help change the world for the better. What's your motivation? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Hassan. Let's keep that round of applause going for Hassan. Thank you. Really appreciate you sharing some powerful personal stories, Hassan. Your experience as an international athlete, being held up at gunpoint, some life-altering experiences, and it was great hearing the resolve that you showed, breaking through those obstacles, those barriers, limiting beliefs, as you've described them, and showing us just what is possible when you commit yourself to those 7 lenses and that mindset. So thank you. And I'm still trying to wrap my mind around that story you shared earlier, where you overheard a group of students who are refusing to come together and assemble a dresser drawer from IKEA. These are Columbia students who are churning out innovative apps, but they can't stack bookshelves together. They have to pay people to do it. I don't know. I'll just leave it at that. Still got to wrap my head around that, but I'm very excited at this moment to welcome Farouk Day up to the stage, but would like to give you some background information before he speaks to us. He, in his inaugural role as Vice Provost for Integrative Learning and Life Design at Johns Hopkins University, Farouk Day leads programs and services that bridge curricular and experiential learning with life aspirations for undergraduate and graduate students, postdocs, and alumni across the university's schools and divisions. In his former role as Dean of Career and Experiential Education at Stanford University, he successfully built and scaled career and experiential learning by creating a vision of meaningful work and a networked approach of personalized connections and inclusive communities. He is now working with university and industry leaders to develop a new vision of integrative learning and life design at Johns Hopkins University. Farouk has held senior leadership in board roles at Johns Hopkins, Stanford, Carnegie Mellon, the University of Florida, the National Association for Colleges and Employers, or NACE, the American College Personnel Association, ACPA, and various startups and nonprofit organizations. His credentials include a PhD in Higher Education Administration, EDS in Higher Education Administration, an MBA, MED in Counseling Psychology, and a BBA in Finance. Named one of the 2018 LinkedIn Top Voices in Education, author of several articles and book chapters, and a nationally recognized leader in higher education circles for his transformational leadership abilities. Farouk has served as a consultant for many organizations and universities, faculty at several institutes, and keynote speaker at many conferences in the U.S. and around the world. And he also wrote the foreword to Hassan's book, How to Be a Career Mastermind. Please join me in welcoming Farouk Day up to the stage.
Good afternoon. It is a pleasure to be here. Let me just shift one more thing here. It's a pleasure to be with you all today, and I want to thank Hassan, Greg, and the Columbia University (SPS) for the opportunity to speak with and be with you today, this afternoon, around a very important topic of finding our way. Let me start right off with the question that's on most people's minds, as I have noticed in my 2 decades in higher education. I'm sure it's on your mind also. What should I do with my life? Is that a question that many of you ask or still asking or have asked throughout your life? What should I do with my life is the most common question that I get, either by students or frankly also by colleagues or professionals, people that I interact with. And what I have learned in my 2 decades in higher education is that this question is probably the most useless question we could all be asking, and it actually is keeping us from achieving our life purpose. And I want to spend the next hour and a half with you today to peel the layers a little bit around this subject and talk about what we could be doing and alternatively. Here's why this is a useless question. Is because as we think about our life forward and consider what we should do with our lives, it's an interesting reaction. Ask somebody what should they should do with their lives, and notice a little bit of the body language that they have. They get tense. I see this all the time. They get stressed. They're not sure. They are under pressure to come up with a very quick answer. In fact, what we noticed in the different universities where I've worked or where I've consulted is that one of the peak times of students visiting offices of advisors, academic advisors, or career counselors, or even counselors in mental health is usually before the holidays, before Thanksgiving break or before the holidays. And it's typically because they are anticipating having to sit in that table and having to answer the question, what are you going to do with your degree? Do any of you relate to that? Maybe. It is a question that actually generates more stress, and asking it and trying to predict what we will do, it actually has proven not to be effective. And we have looked also into that. One of my favorite questions to ask when I am traveling or I meet people is how have you ended up doing what you're doing? Especially if they are people who seem very excited and passionate about the work that they're doing and seemingly successful. The top answer that I receive is by accident. Most people, that's what they will tell you, is that they have arrived to where they are by accident. Perhaps that's your story also. Perhaps I'm describing your story right now. But as you dig deeper in this question or this response of by accident, what you would find is that there were a lot of actions that this person took and a lot of pathways that they were not just being and they happened to be in by accident. What you will find is that there are lots of methods that they used to bring a little bit of that accident their way. To illustrate, I want you to hear the story of Nina Mufli. Nina is a graduate of the University of California, I think Irvine, if I'm not mistaken. And after graduating, she struggled to find a job for about 12 months. After searching for several months, for about a year, she was exhausted. She decided to take things in her own hands rather than just sending her resume and cover letter to countless applications and email addresses and either never receiving a response, or in the rare moments where she receives a response, she'll get an interview, but then it doesn't go further, and she just could not land an opportunity, which was very discouraging for her. So she decided to take her own hands, her matters in her own hands, and made a very short list of companies that she would die to work for. And at the top of that list was Airbnb, simply because she was a loyal customer. She loved the business, she loved the concept, and she loved to stay at Airbnbs. with her family. So she decided to make that her top choice and created a website that she titled Nina for Airbnb, and added a hashtag Nina for Airbnb. And in this website, she told her story, her life story, and she talked a little bit about Airbnb. So it wasn't a website about her only, and the different components of the company and where it is. And then she started looking into what Airbnb is missing. So she actually started developing an entire plan for Airbnb, and noticed that Airbnb was not active in the Middle East at the time. She went even further in talking about why it would make sense for Airbnb to expand in the Middle East, and brought up the notions of hospitality, the Bedouin hospitality, and how the Middle East is transforming, and how actually this could really transform tourism, and Airbnb could be a leader on this. So she started making an actual proposal for Airbnb, and put this all online on the website. These are all screenshots from her website. And then created the plan for how to do it, where to start. Everything that she has learned in school, she put into practice in international markets. Globally, Dubai is ranked 8th in visitor spending, for example. So she started creating a full plan for Airbnb, and then moved into consistent partnership opportunities that Airbnb could potentially develop. And then decided to even project for the future and talk about the potential opportunities that might be coming down the road. Dubai Expo in 2020, Qatar World Cup 2022, and who knows what might happen with Iran. She also explained why she decided to do this. And so it was a little bit about herself, a lot about the company and its potential, and then how she connects with the company, why she loves the company, and as a customer, as a loyal customer, and the potential she saw in it. She started professing her love for this company, and really did a great job on this website explaining how she belongs and where she belongs in Airbnb. This was better than any resume I have seen in my 20 years working in higher education. Not only she talked about where she belongs, she offered opportunities of where she could start: marketing, operations, business development. Heck, I'll even fetch coffee. Just let me in. And once and for all, just breaking the assumption that this generation isn't willing to do the hard work, or isn't willing to pay their dues. What was interesting about this is that within just a couple of weeks of her publishing this work and putting it on social media using the hashtag, she had about 500,000 visits to the website. It went viral, 2,000 emails, 14,000 LinkedIn views by all sorts of curious people, including hiring managers, millions of impressions on Twitter, and dozens of interviews all of a sudden with high-profile companies, and she was in the Bay Area, so in Silicon Valley, including Airbnb. So she got noticed. What was also interesting is that she started, because of the website and the hashtag went viral. She started getting interviews on radio and on TV. She was on CNBC and MSNBC and other channels. And then all of a sudden, she started hearing the speaking circuit in some of the colleges who wanted her to come and tell her story to her students. And that's when I noticed her. When I started seeing the stories in the newspapers, so I reached out to her and invited her to come and have coffees, because I wanted to know what's behind this story. And it was fascinating to have a conversation with her and learn a little bit about her experience of difficulty of having a job, of finding a job, and then having to finally decide that if I'm going to land this work, I'm going to land it in a different way. I'm going to actually construct it, and it worked. Unfortunately, she didn't end up getting a job with Airbnb. That would have been a perfect story, maybe, or perfect closing for this story. But she did have the interview. They liked her a lot, but I don't know, something didn't click in that interview. Her interview was with the CEO and with the executive team themselves. But the many interviews that she had with lots of other companies landed in many offers, and it was as she said, an amazing experience because it allowed her to realize that there were many other opportunities beyond Airbnb, and there were many other companies where she could work. There are lots of lessons that we can learn from this, and I certainly learned from Nina quite a bit. What happens here is that there is a fundamental shift in the way we think about our future and we think about our career. Where most people look into this career exploration, they think about it as career exploration. What do I want to do, and how do I get there? And the assumption is that you have to predict what you will be, and then the second assumption is that you're going to create a plan to get there. And what we have found is that those are actually methods that are not effective, and she has proven that the idea here is that you construct your future rather than you plan it or predict it. You develop it, you design it, and that's where design thinking came in and really just created a paradigm shift in the way we think about this. Here's the simple shift in the formula. When we plan our future, we start from predicting the goal, and then we create a series of boxes to check on how to get there. I will be a doctor, and therefore I am going to create this list of steps that I will take. Unfortunately, it is hard to know what to predict. There are just too many opportunities out there. So life design is based on design thinking. It starts from the beginning. It starts from a moment of inspiration instead. So as I work with my students, for example, what I tell them is don't try to predict what you will be. Instead, use this moment in college to chase your inspiration. So what are you going to be inspired by, or what have you been inspired by lately? So this inspiration, this tremendous experience of empathy with something that inspires you, starts an entire series of steps that can get you to achieving your life purpose. It's defining the area or the problem that you are inspired by or very curious by, creating some ideas, and then starting to prototype and to test. So it's encouraging everyone, and that's my encouragement to you, is to throw yourself into experiences and into communities that can increase the likelihood for you to be inspired, and try things out. That's the idea of prototyping and testing. Come up with some different prototypes and tests that can get you to your life purpose. That is the fundamental difference between predicting and planning your future versus designing it from the beginning. So we're going to do a quick exercise here that is from my friends at Stanford, Dave Evans and Bill Burnett, who wrote the book Designing Your Life. And I'm not an author on it, so I get no royalties on it, but I was with them during the development of this project, and I'm very much a believer. I like to use it as much as possible. So I'd like you in your own tables to do this quick exercise. List 3 different 5 plans. The first is the life that these are 5-year life plans, if you will. The first one is the one that you already live, that you're currently doing now. 5 years. What happened, and list what happens in each one of those years. Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, and year 5. So that's the first one is the life that you're currently living. The second one is the life that you'd create if the opportunity to live the first life were suddenly gone. The current life that you're in was suddenly gone, and you have an opportunity to emerge with a different life. What would you create? You start over. Third life is the one that you'd live if money and image didn't matter. So 3 lives, 5-year plans for each one of these 3 lives. As you do that, give each plan a 6-word title. And then once you get there, write down 3 questions about each version of your life. So 3 versions of your life. Let me go back to the first slide. The life you're already in, the alternative life if the current one were to end, and the one you'd live if money and image didn't matter. And give each one of them a 6-word title. The life you currently have, the life you'd replace it with if it were gone, and the life you'd live if money and image didn't matter. Write a 6-word title for each, and then write down 3 questions you have about each one of these versions. What are questions you have for yourself or about each one of these? Okay, as you get to the end here, rank these 3 lives. What's your top choice, second choice, and third choice based on the following: the resources to fulfill the plan, how much you like the plan, how confident you are in it, and where it fits in your general perspectives on life and work. Resources, how much you like it, how confident you're in it, and how it fits in your perspective. So we're talking about 3 different life plans. The first one is the one you currently have. The second one is the one you'd replace it with if it were gone. And the third one is the one you would have if money and image weren't or didn't matter. Give each plan a 6-word title and write down 3 questions you have about each. And then finally rank them based on resources, how much you like them, your confidence in them, and whether it fits in your general perspective.
So a rating scale, 1 to 5?
Yeah, you could do a rating scale. One to 5, 110. As you finish this up, I'd like you in your tables to have brief conversations and share your what you have come up with, if you have done the exercise. If not, it's okay to just participate as a listener and offer comments. But if you have, if you would share your name, the title of your plans, and then how you rank them, and then have a brief conversation as a table around these. And talk a little bit about what you've learned from this. What epiphany is this giving you? Your name, the title, and how you rank them. Or share the questions also. So everything basically that we talked about. And then what epiphany does this give you? We'll do about 5 minutes in this. Go ahead. So hopefully the conversations have revealed some new things about you. Let's wrap it up. We'll give you another minute to wrap it up. Okay, I would love to have one person at each table maybe share an epiphany that they either heard or their own, or that came up in their own conversations. So is there somebody who, just one person in each table who could share what an epiphany that came out of your conversations from sharing your stories, or you could share a little bit about your own. Who would like to start? About this table, is there anyone?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, maybe your
Stand
name,
up.
your six-word title, and then what has come
Oh.
up in your conversation.
One of my 6-word titles? Okay. My titles weren't very good, but my name's Nicole, and I work for the Career Design Lab. And I think one of the things that we realized in our group was that our third life, the one that we would have with that if money weren't an issue, we're all a lot more creative than our other two. So, yeah.
Is there an example of that?
I said music festival expert, artist, supporter, and creative writer.
So I wanted to go to design school.
Yeah, design school, okay. Very good, thank you very much. Is there anyone who could represent this table and share an epiphany that came up? So your name, your title, your 6-word title, and then so something that came out of your conversation.
Yeah, okay. You want to do it? You don't want
It sounds like you want to do it. Thanks.
By default, I will do it. So my name's Michael, and I am the executive director for the San Francisco CDL. And I enjoyed the exercise. I felt like, of course, the time it will require to do thoroughly is more than what we had available today. And I actually think it would be tremendously elucidating to go through this in a more thorough, concerted manner with a block of 2 hours or something.
I
mean,
agree.
I think it would be a wonderful thing for anybody. And I'm excited. I want to do this. I will do it probably on the plane ride home.
All right. That was
So I couldn't get through all of it because I just went into the present day, and as I shared with my group, I have it, Getting It Done and Stretched to the Max was my title, because it seems like I'm getting a lot of things accomplished these days, and it feels good. I'm also, then the questions were, gee, at what personal cost? Because sometimes my sleep is not as good as it once was, and I'm not exercising to the extent that leaves me feeling my best. So there have been some trade-offs in order to be able to be as generating as much productivity. And in ranking across all of those questions, I got the sense that the resources and how much I like it. I gave myself about 7 on resources. I got about 9 on how much I like the plan, 9 on confidence, and about an 8.5 on how well it fits.
Okay.
So,
very nice. Sounds good. And was there any epiphany from your conversations together that?
the other person who did the exercise, there were only 2 of us that actually put pen to paper, and the pressures of finding the confluence between an accounting background, which is kind of easily converted into income in a kind of lockstep manner, is attractive for that reason.
Yeah.
But that, as I think Nicole was saying, when you have those binds of economic obligation, it's difficult to get into the things that you really want to do.
Good. Okay. Very good. Thank you. Good to see you, Michael. All right. How about you? There were only two of you, so who would like? Okay.
Do I have to stand though?
You don't have to.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Hi,
you.
my name's Angel, and I'm currently a student here at Columbia, majored in negotiation and conflict resolution. And I was talking with Mark about our plans. For me, I think I just have to find my passion and link with my career. So I have to find the work and balance that the previous speaker was talking about. And do you have anything to say?
What we were talking about when she shared with me is really realizing, and it sounded like, at least to me, like an aha moment of I got to find my passion first, not pick a career path, do all the traditional things, but actually find something that she's passionate about and chase that instead of just looking at I'll take a job because I need to take a job.
Very good. Thank you. All right. How about this table? Who have you all appointed? All right. Sounds like you are.
Thank you so much. My name is Angelica De Leon, and we spoke a little bit about my last one, and I think I agree with your tables. The last one for me was more creative. My title is Living La Vida Loca. Year 1 through 5, basically, year 1 starts with learning dance. Year 2 and 3, teaching dance. Year 4, teaching more dance globally. And then year 5, opening dance centers. So dance centered. It kind of goes with my background. Younger, I was a dancer. So I think that kind of came together. But Jen came up with a great insight. She asked me why instead of teaching dance would I not perform dance. So I think that's something interesting to me, even to ask myself, why wouldn't I do it and teach it? So I think that was our insight for my life plan.
Very good.
Her previous example was to be an astronaut. So it was a
Yeah, he was
Wow.
I was like, oh, that's different.
yeah.
That's great.
I was advising.
She was advising. Did you want to say something, or?
I will say a comment about the
Yes.
finding your passion part, just from a practical standpoint. I will say that I think a lot of times people think like I need to have a passion before I go and do stuff. But I think you should also think about when you're in the real world and you have experiences in workplace, you also learn what you don't want to do, and that's actually very, very valuable information when you try to figure out what you're passionate about. Half the time, it's like what you figure out what you hate, you kind of go away from that, and then you kind of start centering in on the things that you like doing or love doing. So it'd be great if I think everyone could just love something, right? I've never found that to be the case in my case. Like people pointed out, real world practical considerations, right? Financial obligations and that sort of thing always comes up. And so for me, because I started working at 15, I was an intern at Morgan Stanley when I was 15. I've been working since then. I've always had to kind of figure out a balance where I can find things I care about while working and learning what I hate doing in the meantime, right? So that's, I guess, my one suggestion for you.
Very good. Thank you. All right. Sounds like you're the appointed person.
Can I add my 2 cents to that the passion part?
Please.
So in terms of finding your passion, I think the most important part is you put yourself into that situation. You will not know where you're passionate about by just thinking. So for example, everybody's passion can change. If my current passion is in credit risk, I say it sincerely, but it can be like, it turns out that after I enter the industry and I find out it's probably not a thing for me, but the first thing I need to do is I give it a shot. I enter the industry. That's the first step I need to do. So the current situation I'm in is I'm a applied analytics student from Columbia, and I'm devote myself in being a data analyst specifically in risk management, right? Or health industry. That's my second choice. Yeah, that's my alternative.
Okay.
And if everything's gone, I probably want to start a new degree in quant, like quantitative analysis. If money and image doesn't matter, I still want to be a credit analysis. So the third plan and first plan, they match each other.
Okay.
Right.
So you're in a good place. Good. Yeah. What's your Odyssey plan? Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Odyssey plan. This is a great exercise. So, first stage, what's the first part of the Odyssey plan?
So it was 3 lives, but if we're putting you on a spot, we don't want it. 3 lives: the current one, the one you'd replace it with, and then the one you'd have. How about the one you'd have with if image and money and power didn't matter?
If it didn't matter, I really wish that that third plan would align as well with my first 2, like it does for her. But it doesn't. I would direct music videos.
Huh.
So I'm never going to do that. But that would be something I think that would be pretty fun.
Yeah.
And the second plan, if this job wasn't here tomorrow, I'd try to find a way that I could leverage my experiences and skills in higher education into something new, a new industry, which it's not fully formed. It would still take some research and thought into it to figure that out.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. And last but not least, or have we done this table? We haven't, right?
Hey everybody, my name's Stacy. So didn't really have any aha moments, but we did notice that all 3 of mine all have give back as one of them. So I'd like to start a foundation to help pay for kids' school lunches, give them after-school STEM activities, and then like a mentor-mentee, like big brother, big sister, little sister thing. I would like to work at NASA. I'd like to pair individual scientists and engineers with kids starting in elementary school all the way up. So yeah, that was something we noticed.
Very good. Thank you. Go ahead, please.
My Odyssey and my current definitely match, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, they do? Okay. How so? Tell us.
Well, I mean, I have my first one as if everything were to stay the same, and this has been my plan, my road to my PhD. I'm finally getting my son out of college, and I can move forward to doing so. My second one is my private practice on steroids. I have a private practice currently. I have to ramp it up and really develop it. And my third one would be retire into my private practice, which has always been my plan.
Okay. You're living it. That's good. Congratulations. Thank you all. This was hopefully a good teaser of an exercise that you can continue to do on your own later on. And those 3 questions that I offered for you to ask earlier, the questions that you have for each one of those plans, I encourage you to spend some time thinking about them and actually writing them down and listening to yourself and possibly even answering them. The questions that you have, and I've seen many before, the questions can be like, why am I doing this if I'm not really excited about it? What would it take to get it? Moving forward, the third plan is the one that people usually leave this exercise thinking more about. They come back and they leave, and they often come back and talk to me and say, that one just, like this is the first time I actually verbalized it or wrote it down, or it's always been in the back of my mind. And it's sort of this elusive idea of your future self that you might think you'll never do. When I heard you do my introduction, the first thing that I thought is this guy sounds like a radio personality. You have an amazing voice for it. So maybe that's your path towards doing videos. Is that what you call it? Directing videos? Yeah, you got to get into the entertainment industry somehow. So I could test that you already have the voice for it. So maybe try that. So don't give up on it. I want to offer a couple of things that could make the third plan potentially possible for all of you. What it takes usually are three things. It's usually action, it's action, networks, and luck. There is a little bit of luck there. So let's talk a little bit about those. Often people, so first of all, let's talk about it as a non-plan rather than a plan. Because a plan means that you have to sort of a plan forward. And everything about that third element of the story, of this exercise, is actually a non-plan. It's something that you are deeply interested in, curious about, and inspired by. And what we have learned is that if you want to turn inspiration into reality, you have to act on it. And your action has to be bold, it has to be audacious, it has to have some elements of risk, right? It has to scare you just a little bit. And if it doesn't, then it's not audacious enough. So if you're willing to take a little bit of action past this, past this idea of this third plan, and say, like, what action can I take in order to move much more closer to to dance or to directing videos, for example? What are some of the actions that I need to take? Excuse me. A couple of things that I would suggest. Find a community that you could join. Find an experience that you could engage in. And it doesn't have to be deep. I'm not saying go and apply for a job or go and get an internship, or a community. This could be a meetup. This could be a group. This could be a club, an organization, a student organization. Anything that can get you in front of other people who have similar areas of curiosity or of interest, because that will begin to open the doors for you. It could be a class, by the way. And I have seen people even enroll in a different major or get go for another degree just to be in that type of community or that type of experience. If you do that, that's going to move into action. And then this way, this third plan moves from the back of your mind, or from something that is so out of reach, into a possibility. And you're starting to put yourself on the path towards that. You have got to begin to surround yourself with people who have three things that could begin to help you blossom in this area that you have major curiosity and interest. Three things. They have to have knowledge and expertise in this area. They have to have wisdom from their own experience. And the third thing is the most important of all. They have to have access. Some type of access to the bigger network, the larger network, to other people, to the industry itself. So who do you know that directs videos? Who do music videos? Is that right? Who do you know in the music industry? Who do you know? Who knows someone in the music industry or in dance, or any of your examples? Who is an astronaut or whatever? Like this dream that you have that you feel is so out of reach, could be a little bit closer to you if you could just connect to the network somehow. Find those people within your network and reach out. That's another part of your action. Just reach out and make this potentially possible. If you just do these two, coincidentally, the third one starts to happen, and that's luck, right? Because most people will just say, like, I'm not lucky enough, or I just didn't catch my lucky break. And in fact, luck is really, if you do enough action towards something, luck eventually will find you. You will find yourself in the right place at the right time, in front of the right person, who might open the right door for you. And it might not be the person who you reached out to as a mentor, but it would be 3 degrees to that person that eventually you will reach that person. So let's talk a little bit about this element of luck and how you can turn luck into something that's much more accessible to you. You know how careers and jobs, how we approach them in the past, it used to look like this. You know, what's the job and how do you fit in it? What's the job criteria, and then what are your skills? And then you just go and do that for 30 years and retire, or 40, or however many years you do. But life has changed, and the economy has changed, and careers have changed today. And then with the paradigms today, it looks more like this. This is one of my favorite movies for anyone who has kids in the rooms, or maybe you are a kid yourself and you like it. How many of you people have seen this movie? Oh, good. So there you go. I love this movie. And when I saw that house float up in the air, it reminded me of this. It's just like, that's what it is that you're literally taking some risks, and you don't have to have a full plan, but you just have to trust just enough that things will work out. You have to have just enough comfort with uncertainty, not full comfort, but just enough comfort with uncertainty, and then just try to take actions that could help turn some of these areas of extreme curiosity and inspiration, like in your third life plan, to potentially make them happen. That makes sense? So how do you do, so what we're talking about here is this idea of removing the accident from luck. As you heard me say earlier, when I ask people how did you get here, most people say by accident. But when I spend an hour talking with them, I'll find out that actually accident had very little with it. Very little to do with it. That they made lots of decisions along the way, and often that they were bold. They put themselves in uncomfortable situations that stretched them, in order for them to emerge stronger. And you could think of this in your own life right now. Can you think of any ways that your career path, education, or your life has been affected by a seemingly random or chance occurrence, something that you could not have foreseen? Can you think of that? How many of you could think of an event like that? This is not just towards your careers, but it's a seemingly random event that might have led you to meet your partner, your spouse, that might have led you to pursue a certain degree, or go to pursue education at a school, that made you leave your hometown to go to another city, another state, another country. That led you to a job that you took that eventually opened more doors for you. Was there a seemingly random event or chance event that led to that? Go ahead and write it down really quickly. You can think of an event like that happened. Now here's the trick with this. It wasn't only because of that event that you ended up doing what you're doing, or you ended up seeing your life change. There were things that happened through around that event that made your arrival to where you are possible. What steps did you take that may have attracted and maximized this chance event? So think about what happened before. What are some of the things that happened before that allowed for this event to come to you? What are the decisions that you took within the year or two before that led to that? Maybe you decided to study a language, or you took a course. Maybe you decided to travel somewhere. The decisions that we make before a chance event happens makes it more likely that chance event comes to us, or luck comes to us, but it also makes it more likely that we recognize it when it happens. Because often luck passes us by and we don't even notice it. But because you're aware, you're tuned in, this is possible. Think about what happened during. When the chance event happens, what decisions did you make? And the chance event could be meeting a partner or spouse, or being in the right place at the right time where someone took interest in you for a potential opportunity or job. What are the things that you did, the decisions you made, and the actions you took that allowed for that to continue? And as you think of these decisions and of these actions, what you will notice is that they are often bold, audacious, they're scary a little bit, they made you nervous, but you went for it anyways. You could have backed away. And then what happened after to maximize it? What are the additional actions that you took in order to take this chance event and really take it forward? When you put all of this together, the impact of luck on your life trajectory becomes less and less. It drops because now you're putting more effort into action. You're putting more effort into decisions. So I offer 6 steps for you to maximize and to draw luck to you. The first one is to follow your curiosity. Identify what you are curious about, and identify a community and an experience that you will engage in. If you do this, you will most likely be inspired over and over. If you join an organization, a church group, a club, a student organization, an internship, a part-time job, whatever it is, volunteer somewhere in alignment with your area of curiosity. If you do this, and it has to be both community and experience, that's a way to follow your curiosity. You will increase the likelihood that you will be inspired. And as you are inspired, you have to persist, because it'll be challenging to turn that inspiration into action after that. There are lots of challenges around us. We are busy. We don't have enough time. We have other life circumstances that put pressures on us, whether they're financial or family or community. You have to be flexible, because because circumstances will force you to change your plans as you go and to change your actions as you go. And as you find roadblocks along the way, you don't stop, don't retreat, but just go around them or adjust your pathways. 4 is to be optimistic. The new opportunities are possible and attainable. Just believe that. Believe that it is possible for me to do this, even if it feels so out of reach. That level of optimism will allow you to truly start to seek out those networks and those experiences and those communities to just get much closer to your Odyssey plan. Take some risks. Put yourself out there, even with just baby steps. The actions that you take, again, if they don't scare you just enough that they're not enough, that they're not going to get you to your ultimate Odyssey plan. And then finally, this is very important, get a mentor. And this is easier said than done, because how do you get that? You don't just go to the store and buy a mentoring relationship. First of all, you have to be very clear about what the mentor needs to have and needs to be. And I shared them earlier, that your mentor needs to have access, needs to have wisdom, and needs to have expertise. They need to have these 3 things, and of course they need to want to mentor you. But without these, then you have to really realize that not anyone can be a mentor. The mentor you get has to have these 3 things in order to open doors for you. But how do you do it is by reaching out to people who have expertise, wisdom, and access, and ask them for an informational interview. This is a very strong technique that can help you get to that. Maybe see if they have opportunities to give in their organizations, in their current organization. See if you can be helpful to them. And then nurture that relationship until eventually you will reach a point where you can ask them to mentor you. Start to develop your own strategic plan. What is your purpose? Why you exist? Decide on what your values are, your true north, the things that will help you make those tough decisions. And create your guiding principles, the things that you will not settle for, and what are the guiding principles that will help you make decisions in the future. This is all part of this idea of inspiration. In order to be inspired, you have to define these things, and then you have to take action. And part of that is to create your objectives, your points of destination, your goals, and what your tactics are. And mentoring can help you with all of this. So how do we get lucky? take inventory of your contacts, use your social networks, get involved in your profession, and build mentoring relationships. How many of you do use the social media quite a bit in order to nurture your contacts? Few. That is a technique that can really help you stay in touch with them. But most importantly, this one is often missed, is develop your own professional brand. The last thing you want is to be an employee somewhere. What you want is to be a thought leader, to be someone who has, to become someone who has expertise and wisdom and access yourself. And in order to do that, what I encourage you to do is to start thinking about the work that you really care about and publish about it. If it's dance, do that. Read a lot about it and then start publishing about it. Start putting your own ideas and thoughts in there. Present about it. Share on social media. Be active there and become a voice for the subject matter that you really care about. And this is a really simple thing that you can do that doesn't force you to leave what you are, the first plan that you're on. You can start experimenting with a third plan by just becoming a voice in that area. I have found in my career that just helping others achieve their goals helps us, helps me myself. So always be helpful to others. Do your job well, get involved in your profession, and you will see that as your name becomes more well known, the opportunities start to come your way. Remember that uncertainty is okay. That is, I think, what I find a lot of people have trouble with, is that they want to know what they will be. It's okay not to know. Just do, just be, just engage in the things that you're doing today. The likelihood for chance can be increased. It can be increased. It's not all just luck. You can put luck on your path, or you can put yourself on the path of luck. It's not all accidental. This is from somebody I've admired for a long time, is John Crumbolts, who wrote the book Luck is No Accident. And he describes it as the residue of continuous reflection, belief, planning, and action. If you do these 4 things continuously, you're constantly reflecting, you believe in yourself, you're constantly planning and acting on those plans. So if you have something that you're really curious about, act on it. Luck will come. You will find yourself on the path of luck. So I encourage you today to reflect, to seek advice, to get mentored, to learn, to educate, to give, to plan your next moves, to be flexible, and to put yourself out there. And you will have good luck. I have no doubt about that. And I wish you all the very best of luck. I thank you all so much for spending the time with me today. And thank you again for Columbia University for inviting me to speak today. And best of luck to all of you. And I said best of luck, but you really don't need luck, because you're going to just bring luck to yourself. So thank you. Thanks, Greg.
Great. Please, let's give a nice round of applause again to Farouk Day, giving us his time and expertise. Those exercises, those three exercises were great. This is actually homework that Hassan has given all of our staff in the Career Design Lab. We have the Design Your Life books. We've been forced to read chapter a week, report back, make sure we've done all the exercises. So we all love that material.
I'm sure Bill and Dave will be happy with that. I'll let them know.
One thing that stood out in the beginning, that Nina's story, I thought really resonated with me, and I'm curious with the audience, people in attendance, whether you took anything away from that. There's a lot. We work with a lot of students who want to work at highly competitive, prestigious organizations, and we know it's competitive. It's hard to get in. So how can you stand out? And Nina's example, I think, is one such way. So is anybody inspired to create their own website, like Nina's story, who wants to get to Airbnb? Anybody inspired to do that? We've got one hand. I'm doing it with 2 hands. I want to work at the NBA. More so, I want to play at the NBA. So this is, I've started to, you've inspired me to write down like my cover story on my website. And I'm just going to read some thoughts. Dear MBA, I know there are a lot of athletically gifted basketball players out there, but I have been a fan since before puberty. I'm only 5'10" and a half, but that half inch gives me a big advantage over those who are just 5'10". I didn't play in college, but in 9th grade, I led my team with the most minutes sat on bench. I'd be committed to training in the gym and on the court, but I do like hour-long lunches, and I want to be home by 5:30. So please call me, MBA. It's just a start. Appreciate feedback. But in all seriousness, Farouk, we're honored to have you here. We are extremely fortunate to be hearing from you and your body of work. The luck, I think that really translates well. It's not so much things falling into your lap, but what are the steps that you're doing preceding those events that seem to be chance occurrences? What are you doing before? And when we really examine that, we do see that we do play a part in how our lives shape, the shape that they take. So thank you again.
Thank you.
We have this gift for you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
John Hopkins, DC, in about 2 weeks.
Of course, yes.
Reconsidering life purpose. Be sure to check it out.
So
Thank you.
Farouk is off to bigger and badder things. He's delivering a TEDx talk in a couple of weeks at Johns Hopkins University. And so be sure to look him up. I'm sure you could find out exactly when and where that is online. And we do have a book signing. Hassan Akmal, as you know, is the author of the You Matter, 7 Lenses. And you could sign up on this table to get on the mailing list and be sure to get a copy of that book. And of course, as I mentioned, Farouk has written the foreword. So they are here available right now to speak with you about that or anything else that was talked about today. So please stick around and enjoy the rest of Career Week because we still got an evening and a day left. So thank you for coming out.